Hello everybody, Razorblade Mango here, and this is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, the big one. Probably the biggest exclusive the PS4 will see in its lifetime. Bigger than Bloodborne, bigger than The Last Guardian, bigger than Horizon Zero Dawn. This is the one that Sony is pretty much spent like the most money on any game, on any exclusive they've ever done. This is like the most expensive exclusive, the most money they've put into it, the most marketing, the most hype. This is the megaton for them. And this video is only going to show the single player portion. I've played a few matches of the multiplayer, but I didn't capture any footage. But pretty much, if you want to hear my opinion on the multiplayer, you can watch the video that I put up for the Uncharted 4 multiplayer beta. My thoughts on the final product are pretty much identical to my thoughts on the beta. So, after all this time, after numerous delays, after tons of star power exiting this project, the series creator herself is not involved with this game. How is Uncharted 4? I'm sad to say that it is a terrible game. It is among the worst games I have ever played. And I don't know what Naughty Dog was thinking doing this game. This game is it's such an ugly game. It has nothing on Bloodborne. It is just awful. It's an awful game. And even as somebody who's not that big of an Uncharted nut, I was expecting better than this. And I was really disappointed. Naughty Dog, you've really disappointed me. Nathan Drake, you've really disappointed me. Sony, you have really disappointed me. So, yeah, this game is a huge letdown. It's very disappointing. Alright, let's cut the bullshit. This game is fucking fantastic. This game, yes, it lives up to almost all of the hype. I have problems with it, but not enough for me to detract significantly from what an experience Uncharted 4 is. And a part of what I said is true. I am not a huge Uncharted fan. Like I'm a fan of the series. If you want to look at how a very mediocre, crappy game, and the first game I think is so. Actually, let me start this off. First game, I think kind of sucks. Second game, I think is all right. Third game, I think is really solid, really good. And I replayed all three of them thanks to the Nathan Drake collection literally last week to prepare for this. And it's interesting with franchises. It's interesting seeing Uncharted, literally playing Uncharted as it's growing up. And it's a testament to Naughty Dog's status as an excellent developer that they know how to evolve a franchise. And Uncharted, I think, is a key example in how to turn, like a supposed wannabe franchise. Because when this first came out, when the first Uncharted came out, people were calling it like Dude Raider. There were lots of comparisons to Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. But Naughty Dog pushed through it thanks to like the fantastic writing, the desire to evolve the gameplay, to fine-tune it, to make it a lot more fun, much better. They've turned what could have been just a mediocre series into arguably the biggest PlayStation franchise in history, maybe of all time. And I accept the argument that Nathan Drake is the biggest PlayStation icon of all time. This game, A Thief's End, it is more than a worthy send-off for him. And I've completed the game. I did not want to do this video until I actually finished the game because I didn't want to come back and be like, oh god, the ending was terrible. No, the end, and I'm definitely not going to spoil it. There's not even really going to be all that many spoilers in this video because the best way to play this game is to go into it kind of blind. Just if you've seen like any of the E3 stuff or the PlayStation Experience stuff, you're fine. It's you haven't seen everything that this game has to offer. There's plenty of surprises in store, lots of great moments they don't show in the trailer. But yeah, where do I even start with this? There's just so much to love about Uncharted 4. I could gush over it for hours. And of course, this has knocked Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 as my favorite game of the year. Uncharted 4 is my favorite game of 2016 so far. I don't think it's as good as Bloodborne to replace it for my favorite PS4 exclusive. I still think Bloodborne is better, a little bit, but we'll get to why in a bit. Let's talk about the graphics. I mean, as you've noticed, this game looks gorgeous. It is like, it might be the best looking game I've ever seen on consoles. Even when it's running at 30 frames per second, it just looks incredible. Just all the little details involved that must have been and must have been really expensive for Sony to fund. I mean, I've heard this game is the most money they've ever spent on a first-party title. And the money shows. This isn't a Destiny situation where they spent $250 million on it and you just go, where the fuck did all the money go? Here, you see the money. You see it in every frame, every bit of amazing lighting, every little gesture that Nathan Drake does that is not necessary at all. But it's the little touches, the little things that he does that add so much, not only to his character, but to the game itself. It sells you on this world. And the facial animation, my god. There were points, especially in the scenes where, like, my favorite moments in this game are the moments between Nathan and Elena, who I have more of like a soft spot for their relationship over the past week, like literally seeing it grow and develop while playing the Nathan Drake collection, and seeing the culmination of it here just brings a smile to my face every time I see it. And I love their performances. I think Nolan North and Emily Rose have amazing chemistry, and like I said, the facial animation, it sells you. It approaches that point where it almost, like, it tricked my brain for a few seconds that it was realistic, that I was literally looking at a real human face. You know that first trailer that they showed for Uncharted 4 with gameplay? Not gameplay, but like the first image of Nathan Drake where he's waking up in the water and he's got like the kind of the white gray in his hair, and like everyone was blown away by how good the facial animation was. Well, they haven't downgraded it. It like literally there was a point where it looked identical to that E3 2014 trailer. It was, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I've seen games try to do like this facial animation justice. In the past, stuff like Heavy Rain, probably what Detroit Become Human is probably going to try with its facial mocap. Probably the best I've ever seen is maybe LA Noirs with their like really hyper realistic facial animation, but Uncharted 4, I think just looks almost realistic. It's almost photorealistic in a really weird way. It like when people say next gen graphics, Uncharted 4 is what they're referring to. I mean, this really does look like a next generation title. There's no fucking way there's no way you'd be able to run something like this on the PS3. There's no way. Also, the story is incredible. As always, the story is great. Even like Uncharted 1, which I really don't like, has a really good story. Even though there are problems with it, it's just fun. I'd rather watch that game than play it, unlike the second one and the third one. But the storytelling always gets better, and even without Amy Hennig's involvement, even without her help, this story it lives up to, not only like lives up to it, but I think surpasses the storytelling from the past three games. It is nigh expertly paced, almost perfectly paced, And it's a very long campaign too, but you don't feel the length in a bad way. You actually want more because of how good it is. The character development with Drake, with Sam. Speaking of Sam, I was worried that this game was not going to sell me on the relationship between Sam and Nathan. I was worried that like a lot of these games that a lot of like movies and games that bring in a story about, oh, I have a brother, oh, I have a family member that needs help. They usually don't do that great of a job integrating that brother or sister or whoever relative into the world because it always feels like a cash grab. Not here. Like when you like the game sells you hard the idea of like Sam being in Nathan Drake's life the whole time. You see how this guy influences Nathan to become the person he's not only now but in the very first Uncharted. You see traces of Sam in that Uncharted 1 version of Nathan. It's an incredible job. Of course the writing is always superb. And of course when you get a writer like Neil Druckmann and you got Bruce Straley involved, these guys know what they're doing. They've worked with Uncharted before, but I was concerned that it wasn't going to match the writing of Amy Hennig. These guys are more known for The Last of Us, which is significantly different toned. I was a bit worried that it would be darker and more violent. Nope, it perfectly captures the Uncharted thing. All the sarcasm, the wit, the humor, the heart, the laughs, the heartwarming aspect to it, the relationship stuff. It's almost perfect. It's almost perfect, and the ending. Oh my god, the ending. Of course I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's nearly perfect. And this is coming from somebody who's always very concerned about game, like not only just games, but conclusions to a series that have have to have a definitive ending. Most of the time, they drop the ball, in my opinion. Of course, the most famous example is, well, until now, we didn't know that they were going to do a Mass Effect 4, but Mass Effect 3 is the most famous example of it being just such a bummer of a letdown of an ending. Here, it's not. It is perfect. It ends perfectly. It almost made me like tear up just because of how I was like, there's no fucking way it's going to be this good. And it was. It was so good. I love the ending to this game. I really do. It's one of my favorite endings ever. Also, the gameplay, which in my opinion has always been kind of the weak spot of this series. Not to say the gameplay is like downright horrible or inept. It's just always felt off. I mean, even like in the third one, which the third one I really enjoy. There are those moments in the third one where like the melee I don't think is all that great. I don't think the shooting still feels weird. The climbing is still just eh. But I think they've improved it significantly here. Unlike past games where when someone spots you, they immediately know your position. This game, if you get spotted, you could actually go, like the environment is more open up. You have more freedom for a choice of combat. You can either be stealthy, you can go in guns blazing, or you can mix it up with both, which is the preferable way. Because if you get spotted, you could easily just, grapple hook out of there, which the grapple hook is awesome, by the way, and perfectly fits the Indiana Jones vibe. You can just grapple hook out of there, and you'll be good, because the guys will look for you, and you can get the advantage again, be stealthy. It's really awesome. Also, the gunplay feels a lot better. It's taken some subtle cues from The Last of Us, as far as gun feedback and hit detection goes. There's also the climbing bits, which if I had like one big complaint about Uncharted 4, it's that there are too many climbing sections. I still think the climbing bit could have been toned down significantly. There's like entire chapters dedicated to climbing, and the climbing has always been my least favorite part of the series. I still thought it was good in Uncharted, but it's so good. It's good. It is good. For the first time in this series, the platforming is good. Also, the grappling hook you can use for platforming. The way you platform now feels a lot smoother. There's a lot less cheap deaths like in the past games. Like there's moments in the past games when you'll reach for something and you'll miss and you'll be like, I had that. I aimed that perfectly. There's no way I could have missed that. But alas, the game will tell you, yeah, you missed that. You need to fix that shit. And it's like no, that's fucking bullshit. No. But yeah, I think gameplay has been improved, and it just feels good to play this time around. There aren't any like game breaking elements to it. I think exploring the tombs is fun. Going around swinging on your grapple hook is a lot of fun. Combat is fun, and the game, unlike past games, it blends all of them really, really well. Like I said, it could have toned down on the climbing, but it is still a hell of a damn good time. It's so much fun to play. And I will admit, I do enjoy the cutscenes and the story and the set pieces much more than I do just the regular shooting gallery bits and the platforming, but at least it's much better here. And the set pieces. Now, there aren't any set pieces in this. I think there's maybe like one or two that I think really stand out, but most of them I don't think hold a candle to like the train chase in Uncharted 2 or the caravan chase in Uncharted 3. But there is like the E3 moment where you're being dragged behind by a bunch of trucks. I think that's like an excellent set piece. Definitely got my heart pounding. There's a moment near the end where you're being chased by an armored truck, and that I thought was really awesome. Yeah, but most of it's really focused on small quarters combat, which is interesting this time around. And there aren't really any MacGuffins, I guess, to go. There aren't any like secret items that you have to look out for. There's no like huge ancient city with a bunch of ancient beings, because in the first game you had those like El Dorado creatures that would come out, which were annoying as fuck. Second one had those guardians that were also annoying, and the third one I think had the flame demons that Drake saw when he ingested the hallucinogenic water. There's nothing like that in this, and thank God, because it goes for a more simplistic approach to this treasure hunt. It really is just a plain old simple treasure hunt, and I liked that stripped down approach to it, because Uncharted 4 is not about the treasure, it's about the relationships of the characters. And again, I think Sam is a really good character. I think Drake, as always, I think he deserves that. He deserves being PlayStation's like key icon. I think I don't know if I'd go so far as to call him the biggest icon, but he's noteworthy of being one. He totally is. Elena, of course, is awesome. Victor is also, Sully is also fun to be around as usual. I also really liked the villains this time around, and I don't usually like the villains in the Uncharted games. I think definitely the weakest one was that one dude from Uncharted 1. I don't even remember the guy's name, but I thought that guy was just a boring, generic villain. His sidekick was just boring. The second one with the war criminal guy, I thought he was okay, but just kind of was very one note. Third one out of the original trilogy definitely has the strongest villains, with Marlowe and Talbot. I think they're interesting, but I think Nadine Ross and Rafe are like, as far as like like a villain and then the henchman sidekick goes, this is the strongest duo out of the whole series. Rafe is an interesting character. He's got interesting motivations behind finding the treasure. Nadine, even though she could have been just a one-note villain, she could have been there just as an excuse to have a boss fight. She's really cool. She has her own interesting motivation for doing this, which I won't spoil. But yeah, these characters, instead of feeling more like just your average Saturday morning cartoon villains, they feel real. They feel realistic, but there still is a need that it's like, oh yeah, you need to take them out because they will be trouble if you don't. Um, yeah, that's really all I can say about Uncharted 4. I think it is a superb game. It's very rare that I see, like, I play so many games nowadays. Like, that's what I do in my free time off work. I play games, and there's just a lot of stuff that I just, I play a little bit of, and then I go, yeah, that was pretty cool, and then I just kind of forget about. This is one of those games that not only stands out, but a game that I see myself, I can genuinely see myself showing this game to, like, my kids. If I ever have kids, this is like the one that I'll be like, look, if you guys want to get into like more, not that Uncharted 4 is like mature and dark and edgy, but if you want to get into a game that's more like teenage stuff like that, I mean, it's a little loose with the language in this time around. They say shit a lot in this game. And like, I don't know how. I guess as long as they don't say fuck, but I guess it's like kind of pushing the T rating as far as language goes. But it's a game that I can show my kids at some point and be like, hey, this is what I used to play. This is one of my favorite games. And I think Uncharted 4, I'm pretty sure if I play through it again, this could surpass The Last of Us as my favorite Naughty Dog game. It's definitely my favorite Uncharted game. And it's one of my favorite action-adventure games. It does everything I want an action-adventure game to be. Like when Hideo Kojima, to my great disappointment, said that his game with Sony was going to be a AAA action-adventure game, I was like, oh no. And he compared it to both The Division and Uncharted. I went, oh no. I hope it's not like The Division. But now that I hope he plays Uncharted 4 and goes, this is what my game should be. Because it is. This is the high bar. Uncharted 4 is the new high standard for what AAA action-adventure games should be. And this is going to be the final game. There's no way it's not going to. There's no way they're going to make another one with Nathan Drake. It is the final game. But if this really is the end, then they went out in a huge high note. This is more than a worthy conclusion to a big PlayStation icon. Let's just, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just call Nathan Drake. He is PlayStation's most iconic mascot. He is. He's like led the charge through 2 console generations now. He is PlayStation's biggest icon, and he's been given the best send-off you could possibly ask for, even with all the drawbacks, with all like Amy Hennig leaving and having to recast Sam or the villain, stuff like that. But Neil Druckmann, Bruce Straley, all the guys at Naughty Dog, they give Uncharted 4 they give Nathan Drake the send-off it deserves. So, bravo. Huge bravo to Naughty Dog. So yeah, should you buy Uncharted 4? Yeah, hell yeah. If you have a PlayStation 4, abso-fucking-lutely buy Uncharted 4. If you don't, probably wait for that inevitable PlayStation 4K before buying it, so you could probably play it in, I don't know, 1080p 60 frames or 4K 60 frames. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with the PlayStation Neo, so we'll see. But yeah, if you have a PS4, this is a must buy. Along with Bloodborne, this is like they've made 2 amazing exclusives so far. So, and they have 2 over Microsoft, so yay! Alright, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. As always, let me know what you think of Uncharted 4, if you've bought it yet or whatever. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, guys. Take care.